Hello friends, it is Catherine Massell here, Ascending Earth Creatrix, Master Intuitive Energy Healer. Hello, hello, hello. I wanted to deliver this public service announcement today based on some things that I've been talking about in two of the groups that I'm leading right now, because I think it can speak to many of you. Hi Raquel. I think it can speak to many of you who feel a sense of unworthiness when you are calling in the manifestations of your desires. So I think that this can really help to reframe and shift your perspective into more of the God's eye perspective. And for those of you who have been following me, you know that I'm all about the Mother Creatrix code energy, and it's all about merging into the one. And if we can frame much more of our life from this perspective, the God's eye, the creative matrix, the Mother Creatrix eye perspective, we tend to live a life that feels like we are part of the fabric of everything rather than separate from that which is divine, because everything is divine. So I'm leading, if you haven't been paying attention, a group right now, a membership group through the end of this year called the Money Lab. And you can still join, by the way, because we're going to stay open through December 2018 with lots of support and resources and tools. And sadly, it's the case that if we haven't grown up with money, if we didn't grow up wealthy, we suffer in the illusion of separation from money and all those things that we think money can do for us, all those great things that money can do for us. And we sadly constantly battle this idea of being unworthy of money if we grew up poor, if we grew up with, a poverty mentality because of how we had behavior modeled to us from our parents, our peers, our family members, etc. And so we're constantly battling this kind of illusion around being unworthy of money, which brings us to a whole different set of ideas around not feeling like we're good enough or we deserve it enough to call it in. We go down the rabbit hole with a whole lot of guilt and shame because of religious doctrine that we had impressed very strongly upon us as we were growing up. I know I definitely suffered from that until not very long ago, growing up Catholic. I like to call myself a recovering Catholic. Hi Linda, welcome. When you have that level of shame or guilt impressed upon you from a very young age about, calling in wealth, it's not spiritual, being wealthy is evil, people who are wealthy are mean, people who are wealthy do bad things to other people. If you grow up with all those bullshit ideas about money, no wonder you are trying to climb up to the surface from those layers of imposed false beliefs about money and wealth and abundance and what it can bring for you. And no wonder you are suffering under the illusion and this lack mentality of, I'm never going to be worthy enough or deserving enough to be wealthy. Or on the other side of that, if I am going to be wealthy, that means I have to be mean, or I have to be evil, or I have to somehow swindle others, because that's what wealthy people do. So when you are someone who is like many of the women in the Money Lab group right now, and some of the women in my Heal, Awaken, Align bootcamp, we're talking about this today, that if you really suffer from these unworthiness issues around money, thinking that I'll never be able to call it in, it's not for me, and it is evil, or it is me taking away the quality of someone else's life. If I take money, that's selfish, that's greedy, that means someone else has to suffer or go without. If you're suffering through any of those false beliefs and illusions around money, listen up, because I want to help you reframe your perspective on this, because it is one of the most damaging perspectives to have, especially when having them puts you in direct denial of your divine soul blueprint of abundance. You are a divine being. You are only abundant. It's just that we put layers upon layers of illusion, and we superimpose these false beliefs over who we are, which is divine at our core. So listen up. So when we cast forth a desire, we are asking for something. Hi, Svetlana. When we are asking for something to show up, we want to be, do, or have something, and we cast forth our desire into the void, the womb of cosmic consciousness, and we say, I want this, I desire this, I choose to have this, I have the power to create this. Those desires come from you as creator. Understand that and hear that, and understand the profundity of that. When you cast forth a desire into the void, what you are doing is accessing the fabric of pure essence, which creates things into form, and you are operating from casting forth that desire. You are operating from a vantage point of creator, right then and there. Whatever you superimpose on top of that is something of your own design, but at the core of it, you are calling forth all of your creative abilities and asking them to serve you. When you are a successful manifester and you are able to call forth that which you desire without resistance to it, meaning you allow yourself to receive it, many of us get stuck or we self-sabotage because we think, well, if I desire this and I call this forth, that means like the money that I'm calling forth or the soulmate life partner that I'm calling forth, that's greedy and that's selfish. And when we ask for more and more and more and more, we start to go into those feelings of blame, resentment, shame, and guilt by calling forth so much that we think, we wrap our minds around this and it kills us every time. We think that we are taking away from someone else's experience by calling forth what we want. This is never the case. And if you are truly operating from the vantage point of creator, you realize there is enough abundance to go around for everyone. We live in an abundant world. We live in an abundant universe. There is no lack of abundance. There is no lack. That's purely a human ego construct. But we often think, or we find ways to sabotage this desire we're calling in, and this is usually the resistance that shows up, that says, this is selfish, this is greedy, I'm not supposed to have this, I'm not worthy of this, who the hell am I to have this, I don't deserve this, I've done A, B, and C in my life that were so terrible, and I'm not forgiving myself for it, so I'm not allowed to have wealth, I'm not allowed to have love, I'm not allowed to have abundance, I'm not allowed to be prosperous, I'm not allowed to create my reality at will, and all the other bullshit that gets superimposed over who you are as divinity at your core. And so when we self-sabotage, we put up that layer of resistance and we say, okay, well, then I'm not going to call it in because I'm taking away from someone else. But here's what happens if you are along this whole continuum, operating from the vantage point of creator. You realize that when you actually do call forth the physical manifestations of your desires, that this is pure essence that comes from the void, the womb of cosmic consciousness and all that is divine. You are calling it forth in manifest form, which is also divine. And when you allow yourself to fully receive that, here's what happens. This physical manifestation and the feeling of having it, the feeling of embodying what it is that you truly desire, ripples outward. This physical manifestation and all the feels that come from it flow through you and out into the collective, into the void, into the people around you in your life, to your friends, your family, your coworkers, your children, your husband, your wife, whoever. And through fully honoring your ability to create at will and fully honoring that which you are calling forth and the physical manifestation of it, you are fully affirming your divinity. You are not in self-negating mode of it, and you are casting forth, telegraphing a message to the universe, to source, that says, I am the creator, I am divine, and everything I call forth and all manifestations of it is divine by nature, by deduction. And when you allow yourself to feel the fullness of it, whatever it comes in and provides for you in your life, money, a new car, a soulmate, a twin flame, whatever it is, when you embrace and celebrate the full manifestation of that desire, the feeling of that moves through you and it filters into the collective. So everyone benefits from you actually calling in what you want, from you fully receiving without resistance what you desire. So think about how grandiose that is. Think about the colossal implications of that. So those of you who are suffering from this idea of, I'm not deserving of calling that in, or that's too big for me, or I'm taking away from someone else, you negating the physicality, the physical manifestation of what you're calling in and saying, no, not for me, you are negating your own divinity by doing that. And you are essentially, by default, diminishing someone else's experience of that, of their divinity. Think about that. So, to summarize, you are, in calling forth your desires, embodying the Creator, creating your reality at will, calling forth fully, without resistance, the physical manifestation of those desires, and celebrating it, honoring it as divine incarnate. You are telegraphing a message to everyone all around you, to Source, to your friends, your family, whatever, that you are divine, and that you are accepting your divinity as fact, and you are allowing everything that is in alignment with that energetic to flow into you easily and without resistance, gracefully and in full flow of the abundance of the universe. You lead by example in doing this. You only call forth more of what you desire in doing this, and you know that more is also part of your divine blueprint, because if you're able to honor and accept and love and celebrate what it is that you have right now, you are automatically in alignment with more, because the universe just sends you something similar to that energetic, and it just expands and ripples outward from there. So, hi Karen. So think about this. Those of you who are watching or jumped on late, please go back and watch this from the beginning. Those of you who suffer from this idea of, if I accept this, if I accept the manifestation of my desires, I am taking away from someone else's experience. You're only taking away from someone else's experience if you deny the physical manifestation of your desires. So think about that. Think about the implications of that. Think about the patterns where you've actually done that in your life. How did that work out? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Hey, Sarah, we talked about this today in class. I just wanted to put this out there for you to give you some food for thought, and to think about how something that seems like a small block or piece of resistance in your life actually informs the collective on a much deeper level. And we must, as we continue to move on this ascension timeline, moving into 5D, we must embrace the fact that our energetic individually always and ever informs the energetic of the collective. And we can do this in a much more positive way than we have been doing, based on how mindful we are of what we're attracting and what we're calling in and what we allow ourselves to receive. I want to wish you so much love and peace. Have a beautiful night.